Today we are going to provide a detailed explanation of the Notes tool, which is an optional service offered by 3DVista. With this feature, designated individuals can create notes within your published tours, allowing them to write messages, attach files, automatically notify other participants, and more. It's particularly valuable for collaborative projects where the goal is to centralize and document all processes and comments in one location. In this tutorial, we will comprehensively guide you through the entire process, starting from the control panel, including category management and the assignment of teams or individuals. We'll cover how to prepare the tour in VT Pro, configure settings, set up actions, and publish it for notes. And finally, we'll delve into the most crucial aspect, how to use the service within a tour, create notes, assign categories, individuals, and explore the various options that the system offers. Let's get started. Alright, so once you've subscribed to the service, the first thing to do is access your cloud panel and enter your credentials, the ones you used when purchasing the Notes service. From the My Account section, you'll find the 3DVista services you've purchased, including the new Notes service based on your plan. If you wish to upgrade your plan, you can do so here by selecting Change Plan. Most importantly, you'll now have a new tab enabled for Notes. Clicking on it will take you to a new control panel where you can manage both the users who will be using the Notes service and the administration of your note categories. To get started, click on the Add User button to create your first Notes user. When you click on it, a pop-up will appear where you can enter the user's name and role. You have two options, a regular user or an administrator. In this case, we'll create an administrator. The only difference is that an administrator will have access to all notes created in tours associated with this account, and full control to delete or mark them as completed. You'll also need to provide a contact email, which can be from any email service. And you can add categories. Initially, the system generates a default category, which will be applied unless you change it, as indicated here when you create a user and click Save. The user will receive an email at the registered email address with the access credentials, the password. Now, you can see the user is listed here, the system is keeping track, and you now have one of the 10 available slots, depending on your chosen plan. Next, in this area, we would have the option to edit this user. So we could change any of this information again. You can also manage the password by clicking this button. Selecting Random will automatically send the user a new password via email. This way, the panel manager won't know the password, enhancing security and privacy. Alternatively, you can add a custom password manually. This allows you to set a specific word as the user's password. And from here, you have the option to delete this user. Now let's move on to the topic of categories. By default, the system generates an initial category to get you started with notes. Of course, this category can be edited, allowing you to create a category that's useful for you. For example, you can name it Construction. You can also change its color for better distinction, so when you create a note, this will be the associated color for this category. You can even assign a more distinctive icon. You can choose from a variety of icons, or type in keywords to find a suitable one. Click Save, and now you have it updated. I'll create a few more. Alright, I've generated all the categories I need, but you can create more later if desired. Now let's add new users. For example, this one I'll leave as a regular user. By default, the initial category appears, but if you click here, you can assign additional categories by simply selecting them, and as you can see, they accumulate. When you save, this new user is associated with multiple categories, not just one. You can also edit an existing user and add the rest of the categories. Or if needed, remove them by clicking the X, alright? Although I'll associate this user with all of them. I'm now going to create a few more users. This way, you can categorize your users. So when you create notes, for instance, one related to furniture, you can only choose these users to participate in this note. That's the idea, but we'll explore this further later on. Next, we need to prepare our tour for using with the Notes service. To do this, open your project. I have a test project loaded here, and you simply need to click Publish. Enter the necessary settings just like any other tour, and check the 3DVista Notes box. Here, you'll enter the credentials of the account used to purchase or register the Notes service. Remember that it doesn't have to match the VT Pro or hosting account. You can then proceed to publish your tour as you normally would. Wait for it to upload. And now you have it published and ready to use with Notes. As you know, you could also publish it to store on your own server without using 3DVista's hosting service. It's the same process. You have these options here, and you just need to click Publish. As you're aware, it will generate a set of files that you can upload to your hosting, and you can use Notes in the same way. Now let's access our published tour. Here it is, open and ready. The first thing to note is that the tour now automatically displays this button, which opens the Notes panel. Since we aren't logged in, the login window will initially appear. Here, you can log in by entering the email and password of any of the users you created in your Notes control panel within 3DVista Cloud. You can share the tour's URL with all those users so they can log in with their own credentials. In my case, I'll use the details of the first user I created. I enter the password that was sent to me via email and click Login. Now we're inside, ready to use Notes. Since we haven't created any notes yet, this area is empty, and here we have the option to create our first note. If you prefer, this panel can be set to open by default without having to press the button. This can be done in the Publish window by checking the Show Login panel at Start box. Before we create our first note, let's explore another option for displaying this Notes panel if you don't want to see the default button that the program adds here. For instance, you might have elements in your skin here and don't want the button to interfere with them. Or you might want to customize access with a different button, icon, or text. For these cases, let's see how to do it. First, make sure to uncheck the option Show Login Panel at Start. Then, go to the Skin panel, where I've already created a text button of the button type and placed it in an area where I know it won't interfere with the skin. This way, I leave this space available for a possible settings button or anything else needed. It's just a matter of adding the action from the Notes section to this button. Enter Notes mode. Click Done, and you're set. If we do a preview, you'll see that adding this action makes the program hide the default button. This way, you can customize it. If you click it, the panel opens and the default button is hidden. This action works in a toggle mode, either showing one thing or the other. Once you've initiated it, the button becomes unnecessary, keeping the area clean. Lastly, regarding this topic, the action we applied to the button to open the Notes panel can also be applied to a hotspot. For example, you could place a hotspot in the panorama that serves as the access point to the Notes panel. For the tutorial, we'll remove this button to bring back the default one and return to the tour. Let's re-enter Notes. I log in. We have our Notes panel displayed. With this button, you can log out if you want to log in with a different user. And now let's explore the main function, which is creating a new note. To do this, click this button. The viewer enters an editing mode, and the goal is to place the note where we want to make a reference within our panorama or media. In this case, we'll position it here to reference the discussion about the radiator. Up here, we'll enter the title of our note, for example, this one. Now we need to choose the category or categories to which this note belongs. In this case, it could be, for instance, design. As you can see, when you select it, the users associated with this category appear here. As the note creator, I'm marked by default, and between these two users, for example, I can deactivate this one, so the note will only reach this one. I'll select both, and they will be associated with this note, and they will receive an email notification that a note concerning them has been created. The email will include a direct link to the tour and this specific note, so that they can view it and respond directly. You can also add a second category, which will also be selected, or even a third, and as you can see, since this one had other associated users, they will be added to the list as well. In this case, I'll remove them and leave only this one. Now we can click Create, and we have our first note created. As you can see, the panel has changed, and we are inside the created note. It displays the title, category, and notifies us that we can start writing. This area serves as a chat for conversations. Here we can write our first comment and click Send, and there we have our first comment posted. It will be sent as a notification to the users we initially defined in the note. Like any chat service, it provides information about the author, the text, the date, the time, and we can also delete it if necessary. In these notes, we can also add links, such as this one I'm going to paste. Publish, and as you can see, it appears as a clickable link, and clicking it will open the indicated page. We also have the option to attach files. This way, you can add any type of document, image, video, etc. to the conversation. Multimedia files like photos, videos, or audio can be viewed and played directly here, while other types will open in a new browser window, or you can download them to play on your systems using the associated application. For example, if we upload an image, it will be displayed directly in the chat, and you can click it to view it larger. If we had more, we could scroll through them from here. Other users can download it to their devices by clicking this download button. With this arrow, you can return to the general panel, and new notes created will be added here, both mine and those from other users related to this tour. By clicking it, we can open it again to access it. This button opens the settings panel for this note. Some options, like Configure, are available only to the note creator. This allows us to reposition the note, add or change categories, assign or unassign people, and edit the title. If we want to confirm the changes, we can click Update, and if not, we can click Cancel. We have other options like enabling or disabling notifications so that email messages related to this note do or do not arrive. These email notifications can be enabled or disabled for each note individually. Then, in Multimedia, we have a gallery with all the files added to this note so you can view them all in one place. In Info, you can see the category associated with the note, the latest multimedia files added, and the users associated with this note. By clicking Archive, the note will be hidden from the list. As you can see, that note disappears, and you can only see it by clicking here. This button allows you to show or hide archived notes. And with this icon, we can distinguish this type of notes. This option is useful when you have many notes here, and one is no longer important, so you want to hide it and prevent it from cluttering the list. Now let's unarchive it to return it to normal. Another interesting option, not to be confused with archiving, is Mark as Solved. This is used when you create a note to discuss a topic, and after all the comments, you reach a conclusion and the issue is resolved. In that case, you can mark it as solved. The note will be locked, and other users will not be able to write in it because it's considered finalized. It's like closing a topic, and only the note creator or administrators can take this action. For now, let's cancel it because we want to keep working on it. Finally, as an administrator or note creator, you have the option to delete it. If you click it, the system will warn you that deleting the conversation will remove it for you and all other participants in the conversation, and all the uploaded multimedia files will also be deleted, making them unrecoverable. So be cautious, although it's also a way to free up space on your plan when you no longer need to discuss this note physically. And now let's change our perspective and imagine that we are some of the other users included in that note. So this other user too would enter the tour and log in with their credentials. As you can see, they would immediately see the first note created by user 1. It shows who wrote the last comment, the last thing added, which was the image, and here they are notified of 3 unread messages. If they click on the note, the screen repositions to center the note and opens the conversation to read the messages. Now they could respond, they could also add another multimedia file, like a video. As you can see, videos can be viewed directly here, which is very convenient. Let's write something more and add a PDF to show you how different types of files are displayed. Or by clicking, in this case, it would open directly in a new browser window. This user could close the panel and continue navigating the tour, moving through panoramas, and, for example, adding another note here. To do that, they would have to go back and click Create a new note. They would place it here, enter a title, assign the category Construction, adding these users. But as it's also related to design, they would add this other user and maybe remove this one. Click Create, and we have a new note created. Here, you can see it indicates that it has 2 different categories. Let's write a message. If it doesn't look well placed, we can edit it and move it for better alignment. And now, in the main menu, both notes are visible. Now, let's imagine how another user might enter the tour, for example, user 3, the decorator. She would see that they have 9 new unread messages in this first note and 1 unread message in this other one. She could navigate directly from here and access the note to read all the messages. Or she could go to the general menu, and by clicking on this note, even if it's not in the current panorama, it would automatically change to that panorama and take her directly to the note. She could respond. And I'll take this opportunity to explain that, as you know, the note service can be used on desktop, as we're seeing, as well as on mobile or tablet. In the mobile version, it looks somewhat like a messaging service. Here you would have your notes with various conversations, and by clicking one of them, it would open. And you can write as if it were a kind of WhatsApp. Let's add a few more notes as examples for the tutorial. Now, let's go back in as the initial administrator user. If you remember, this user was associated with all categories so they can see all the notes. You can also create a user who is the end client of the tour, and they could stay informed about all the conversations. For that, they would also need to be in administrator mode. Here, we assume that this user has already read all the notifications and comments, which is why they appear without the alert. At some point during the process, you may have so many notes that it becomes a bit challenging to find a specific one. That's where the note search and filtering area comes in. First, there's the search box where you can type anything, for example, wall, and it will automatically filter and select only the notes that contain the word wall. This way, it's convenient to go to a specific note simply by clicking on it, and the tour will take you directly to it. Here, you can search and find what you need. If we change it from wall to radiator, it filters all notes that contain the word radiator from any category, whether the word appears in the note's title or in some internal comment. Another option we have here is the ability to filter by category. Although initially we're always viewing notes from all categories, I might want to see only the furniture category. If I click here, it only shows me the 3 notes that have been created with furniture. If I select design, I'll only see those. However, some notes also appear under design because they are also categorized as furniture. For example, if we click on this one, you can see that this note has been categorized under both furniture and design. That's why you see it here. You can also use this filter in combination with a keyword. This way, it filters only the notes containing the word radiator and are in the design category. Let's leave everything as it was. The last icon shows us a list of all the media in the tour, so we can go directly to each of them from here and display only the notes in that media. As you can see in this panorama, we have this note, and if we switch to another, we have these other notes. Let's close our panel. At certain times, if our tour becomes filled with too many notes, it can be inconvenient to navigate. You might also want to view a version of the tour without the distraction of notes. In VT Pro, we have an option to show or hide them. Let's see how it works. For this, I've created a text button, which I've set to toggle mode. In the normal state, it says Hide Notes, and in the pressed state, it says Show Notes. Now I need to add the action in the Notes section, Show Hide Notes. And it's done. Let's do a preview. Now when we access the tour, we see the notes. If we press the button, the notes are hidden. This way we can show or hide them and navigate cleanly or with them displayed. It's also important to note that the Notes service is not only available for use within panoramas, but also with other types of media, such as 360 videos and 3D models. In the case of 360 videos, the operation is similar to panoramas. While the video is playing, we can create notes at any point. Here, for example, we are going to create this note related to this monument. And we're going to assign any category at random just as a test. And that way we can view it while the video continues playing in the background. Similarly, we can use it in 3D models. We can freely move around our scene and create a new note at any point, which will be anchored 3-dimensionally to that spot. We write a title. We assign category and users, and we create it. Let's create another example note in this area. This way, we can make annotations at any point in our model, whether it's an orbital model like this, a flyover, or a first-person view model like this one, where we can navigate the space as if we were walking directly through the room, and of course add notes at any point in the model, like this one. This allows for comprehensive tracking and problem management, providing remote information to the responsible individuals with the accuracy of a 3D model created, for example, through photogrammetry, which is increasingly faster and more affordable. This way, all project management with related conversations can be centralized in one place, in this case the virtual tour, separating different conversation topics. Each conversation can include its own multimedia material like images, videos, documents, all collected and grouped in each note independently. This eliminates the need for physical visits to the site just to check things, as you can supervise the operations virtually. Back to our control panel, we want to let you know that you might be using notes in a tour and suddenly need to add a new user to participate in it. The system detects that you've started creating notes in some tours. So when you now create a new user, a new window will appear asking if you want to associate this new user with existing notes. If you click yes, they will be associated as long as they belong to the category assigned to the new user. This way, you don't need to create all participants in advance. You can add new users on the go, always linked to the project you're working on. Click yes, and it's created. And finally, with regard to the cloud control panel, we also have this usage section, which is generic for both 3DVista hosting and notes. Here you can see the amount of storage used in notes. Remember that this storage capacity is not related to the uploaded tour, but only counts the multimedia files you upload in your note comments, such as photos, videos, etc. Depending on the plan you've chosen, you'll have limits on capacity and the number of users. You can manage this by upgrading to a higher plan if needed, or by entering tours and deleting notes you no longer use to free up space. From here, you'll always have control over how much space you have available at any given time. And that concludes the tutorial. While the tool's general operation is intuitive, we've gone into detail on all its features and processes to give you a clear understanding of its utility and all the advantages offered by this service. The possibilities and areas where it can be used are enormous, and being able to interact and communicate in this way within any tour opens up numerous opportunities. We hope you make the most of it. Best regards, and until next time.